Hmm? Ah!
You're listening to the Run for Your Lives podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to the show. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And this is the Run for Your Lives podcast.
This episode is the science fiction horror film Nope. Written, produced, and directed by Jordan Peele. Released July 18th, 2022.
Yay!
July. Was it all the way back in July?
It was. It came out my birthday weekend.
Man, as I remember going opening night because I freaking love Jordan Peele and I'm going to see anything he does like that. But I didn't realize it was already all the way back in July. Like I felt it was more recent than that. We've been waiting a little bit on this one.
We have. We've been talking about it for a while. And I think we both knew that when we did this one, it was going to take some prep time because there's a lot to talk about with this film. Not just what we see on the screen, but there's some background information to talk about as well. So we put it off until we both had the time to be able to do the prep.
Yeah, it's the most notes I've had for a podcast in quite a while.
Oh my goodness.
So hopefully this won't be super, super long. Anybody listening, you can look at your podcast player and see how long this ends up going. We can't do that because we're live right here.
Yes, we are.
But yeah, I will say I've been so excited to cover this one. I adore Jordan Peele. Like I said, we covered Us. Maybe we should cover Get Out at some point.
Oh, we have to cover
Get Out. Even though it doesn't exactly fit in our theme necessarily, who cares because we can make up our own rules, right?
We do what we want. That's been rule number one since the beginning.
So as excited as I am for this one, I have to admit I'm also really nervous about it. And I've been feeling anxious about doing this one. And we've kind of been pushing it back for those reasons, because there's so much going on within the movie, but also under the surface, that I hope I can do it justice without making it a 3 or 4 hour podcast. You know?
Well, and it's funny because we're recording this later than usual, like about 2 hours later than usual.
Mm-hmm. I needed the extra prep time because, like,
I know.
Yeah, there's other things going on alongside it, but yeah, also just I knew immediately. Like, I got 30 minutes into the movie and texted you and was like, "Yeah, it's going to be a later recording because there's a lot already that I'm diving in on and taking tangents on." And yeah,
you took a few trips down rabbit holes.
I did.
So I'm looking forward to learning more about what you found out when you went down those rabbit holes.
Yeah.
And maybe you can explain some things to me that I didn't get, because there were some things that I didn't understand.
I will try my best.
I will say that watching it a second time really, really helped. Yeah. I picked out some things that I hadn't noticed before. And so I'm excited to dive into it more because I feel like the questions that I had when I started my rewatch, I have a lot fewer now because I noticed things throughout the film.
Yeah, I can't promise I'll have all the answers for you or anybody listening. There's a lot of analogies and things that are very, very deep in this movie to where I don't know how many times I could watch it. Jordan Peele still may be the only person that really knows what's going on. So some things I did some research. I did some deep dives on actual articles and interviews with Jordan Peele and other well-established pop culture and movie critics and reviewers' thoughts and breaking things down. I did a lot of reading on that stuff to kind of get some ideas of what people thought about things and piece things together. And then some of it's just kind of my own theories and assumptions, but we'll see. We'll see how I do with it.
I think everyone who's seen this movie has a theory or assumption.
Right.
So I think that all added together sounds like a heck of a conversation that we're going to have on this podcast covering this movie.
Yeah.
So I feel like we should just dive in with production notes, like usual. It was filmed in multiple locations in California, including Agua Dulce, Santa Clarita, and Los Angeles. Partially motivated by the COVID-19 lockdowns and the, quote, endless cycle of grim, inescapable tragedy in 2020, writer-director Jordan Peele was inspired to write Nope. Budget for the film was $68 million, and it grossed $171.2 million at the box office. It is 130 minutes long. Pake, synopsis time.
All right. A very give nothing away kind of synopsis, I found. The residents of a lonely gulch in inland California bear witness to an uncanny and chilling discovery. What could it be?
Ooh, dun dun dun. What could it be? It's definitely something. Just rewatching this again, things I thought from the first movie, it's like, nope, that's not really what's going on. Or, oh, that's what happened. It wasn't what you thought it was. It's something else. Even right at the beginning, when Otis Sr. is killed by a nickel. Mm-hmm. I didn't even notice it was a nickel before. Like, these are the... It was a nickel. Killed by a nickel. Yeah. A nickel drops in and kills him. Pake. I feel like, because we've already discussed it just a little bit at the start, let's jump in with both feet.
All right. The way that I've done it today is a little different, so we can kind of play around with it. We have character breakdowns, but I've kind of grouped them a little bit. So I have just kind of the Haywoods in general. I put all of my OJ and Emerald notes together. They're kind of just a brother-sister team here. Everything they do kind of works in tandem with each other. So
definitely.
I just have
they're a dynamic duo for sure.
The Haywoods. And then I didn't have a lot of notes. I added Antlers Holst into my notes a little bit. And so I just combined his stuff with Angel. Because they're kind of the main side characters. So then I have those, and then I have my own section on Jupe, and then I've got my own little notes about some major jean jacket scenes. So that's kind of the sections I have. I'm laying those out for you, so you kind of know where to go with it a little bit, or how I'm looking at going with it.
Okay.
If that works for you.
It works for me just fine. I think that, as we've said before, some movies just lend themselves to tweaking things a little bit. So we're pretty flexible here.
So the Haywoods, like I said, kind of the place to start, this family here. Haywood Hollywood horses. Here on this ranch in Agua Dulce. The father, Otis Sr. It's great to see Keith David. Always great to see him, even if he is not here for very long. But we got him, and I like that.
Yeah, he was great.
Yeah. And like you said, on second watch, because I haven't seen this since I watched it opening night in the theaters. So picking up on things on this second watch, getting ready, doing prep here, pretty much immediately, as far as with these characters' story goes, before Otis is struck by the coin, along with all the electronics cutting out and things like that, we do hear, or as do the father and son here, some light screams coming from somewhere way off, way up. But the clouds are hiding the source. And I immediately got chills right then. Having seen it before now and knowing what that was, I was like, oh, thanks. I hate it. In fact, I got to say, nope.
No.
So yeah, picking up on that a second time was chilling and creepy, and I didn't like it, but I also loved it.
I know. It's one of those things where you hear it and you're like, oh my God, it just takes you right back into the mode you were in at the end of watching it last time, because you've seen and you know. Yeah. And I just don't remember paying as close attention to it. And so this time when I was watching, I'm thinking, well, that's, oh God. This is bad.
Yeah. And so to jump ahead a little bit, because you mentioned Otis Sr.'s death, how that happens. And then we kind of cut to 6 months later. They're on the set of a commercial. We first see Antlers Holst. He is the cinematographer for this commercial. Which I didn't realize that in
Michael-
the first time I watched it, that he was there then. And then I was like, how did he get teamed up? And I was like, oh, yeah, they saw him there. He was on the call sheet.
Yeah. Michael Wincott, I just remember him mostly for being top dollar in The Crow, which was a movie that came out in the 90s, starring Brandon Lee. It's one of the few movies he made before he died. It was the movie that he died on that set, actually. He does a villain really well, so it was cool to see him in a different sort of role. In this kind of, I think he's a little eccentric.
A little.
Just a little.
I've got thoughts about that. We'll get to those later. Yeah, so OJ is trying to do it on his own, and it is awkward. This is not the role he's used to fulfilling, but Emerald shows up, and she has that safety meeting, quote unquote, speech down pat. Just kills it. Of course, she's got to throw in all her own little side gigs as well, right?
Of course.
Self-promotion. But yeah, Keke Palmer is just great in that delivery, I think.
Oh, definitely. She's got such great energy for this character. And especially as a contrast to what we see in Otis Jr., OJ.
Yeah.
Because he's so serious and he just seems so down. She's on the flip side of that. So they kind of balance each other out, I think, good as siblings, because their personalities are different, but you can still see that brother-sister connection.
Yeah, for sure. They have that connection, but yeah, they are very different. She's bubbly and animated, and he's just like stone-faced and serious.
Stoic.
Which Deadpool, love him so much, and he was incredible there too. It works so well.
Glad we got to see him again in this one, because he was great in Get Out.
Of course, this commercial film crew doesn't listen well, and also, like I said, OJ is not good at speaking up or being assertive. So that kind of forms a perfect mix of it looks like production's going to just go with the CGI horse.
No one ever listens. Why is it that they don't listen to experts? That's an ongoing theme in the movies that we cover. It just keeps happening over and over again. People just don't listen to the experts.
No, they don't.
It's common thread.
Yeah, like I said, with OJ, it's kind of hard to listen because he's very, hey guys, I don't know what it is.
Yeah. But he does try to tell them, don't look at the horse.
Right.
Don't stand there. Don't do these things. And they just don't listen. They don't.
Yeah, this movie horse business has been rough on OJ in a couple of different ways since his father passed. Financially, it's not great either, so he's considering just selling the whole ranch to Jupe, even, and just getting out. As of right now, he's been selling horses to Jupe one at a time, with the plans of buying them back. Of course, if he knew what he was doing with them, he wouldn't be doing that.
Well, that actually explains Jupe's reaction when he starts talking to him about buying back some of the horses.
Oh, yeah, about that. See, what had happened was...
Are you sure, Pake, that he wants to get out?
Oh, I see what you did there. It took me a minute. But yeah, so he's thinking of selling everything to Jupe and moving on. And Emerald, although she's not super personally invested in the things going on with the family business, still really doesn't like that idea, because it is kind of, that's their father's legacy. That's everything that he built. And there is some kind of feeling about just getting rid of it and moving on. It doesn't sit well with her.
I think they both don't want to let go of what their father built, even though what's left right now is really just a piece of it. Like, they don't have as many horses. I feel like OJ takes a horse in for a test. If it doesn't go well, he just takes it to Jupe and sells it. Because poor Lucky. Right. Well, Lucky was a lucky one.
The actress there, Bonnie Clayton, at the shoot when OJ says, and this is Lucky, and she goes, is he? Yes, he is. We learn very much so.
Much more lucky than Ghost or Clover. Yeah. Just gonna say.
But so I will say OJ has quite a nice vinyl collection. A lot of respect to that.
Yeah. Unfortunately, some of it took a nice little ride.
Yeah.
In the
How
air
much that
and
hurt
landed
my soul
outside.
when I saw that, with these records dropping from the sky into the sand. I'm like, oh, my soul, my heart. No.
I know. Well, before we were recording tonight, we were talking about you're actually under a tornado warning. Watching this movie, yeah. I was thinking, oh, but Pake, you have all those records, and I wouldn't want them to have the same fate.
Would not be good.
No.
Yeah. Ghost is spooked by something and runs off, and then that's where OJ sees Jupiter's Claim special show from a distance. But the sounds and a little peak of something flying through the sky are enough to kind of clue him in that something's wrong. Something's off.
Something's definitely off. I think, too, it probably, once he figured out what was going on, he realized why Jupe wanted his land anyway.
Mm-hmm.
He wants it because it's perfect proximity to what he's doing. Right. Like, it would just make sense for him to have that.
Yeah, something's going on. Power cuts out, so they lose those cameras, so they want to get an eye on what's going on. Got to get cameras. So the Fry's Electronics that they go to there, they go for their
it's a real thing,
their security camera
right?
setups. It is a real store located in Burbank.
Mm-hmm.
Fry's stores all had different themes for all their locations, pretty crazy and wild, similarly to that. At least most of them did. Space, ancient Rome, steampunk, Alice in Wonderland. The one here in Dallas was a cattle ranch theme.
That's a big surprise.
Unfortunately, all Fry's locations have now permanently closed. It is done. This one here, that was the actual Burbank location, closed after already making a deal with Jordan Peele to be allowed to be used in this movie. But luckily they were still able to use it before the property sold, so it is immortalized in film now. So that's good.
Yeah. Yeah, they reconstructed some of the inside to become an electronics store to get it to work. That was some of the research that I did. But I have a feeling that I'm not going to have a lot of show notes at the end. I'm not going to have a lot of my behind the scenes things to talk about, because I think that you are going to cover a lot of them in your notes.
We'll see. So the next note I've got is one of the first big themes, because the word, or the words, the phrase comes up while they're at Fry's. Bad miracles. And there it is when he says it, that this is a truly terrifying situation at its core, but it is coming at a time when OJ is in a financial crisis. Emerald knows that. They could get rich off of proof of an alien UFO. So there's this bad miracle where something insane and crazy and terrible has happened, but it also could lead to something good, and there's a lot of kind of special things to it. The concept of the bad miracle, of course, doesn't always have to have a positive side to it. It's just something incredible and amazing that defies reality, as you know, but can create a lot of harm. The UFO alien creature itself, this hungry and territorial predator, or even Otis Sr.'s death, because it's such a wild, out of left field, never would happen, but it happened. It's this bad miracle. So that's the first we really get set up with that theme and that idea of that, which is a big part of this movie.
It really is. Yeah, I think the first time that I saw this, I didn't realize what was going on, so I thought, oh my God, did a door blow open on a plane and stuff fell out the first time I watched it. And now, knowing what's going on, it's interesting. I mean, to me, it's like the digestive system for, the alien being. It's basically purging anything that it doesn't need.
Non-organic that it's not. Yeah.
Yep. Keys, wheelchairs, coins, lots of things.
Yep. Horse mannequins.
Oh my goodness. And he kept driving. He kept driving the truck after he just drove. And for some reason that killed me. I was just like, I don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Speaking of that horse mannequin, OJ has a very scary, creepy alien encounter in the horse stables, which turns out just to be Jupe's kids in playful retaliation for Emerald stealing that horse mannequin thing earlier that day.
Jupe didn't seem that upset about it. I mean, I think when he came to visit them, I'm not sure if he knew that she actually took it from him or not. But when he's trying to find out, she just throws it right back at him.
Where'd you get yours?
Was kind of clever. Yeah. Because she doesn't hold back. Right. Keke Palmer, she killed it.
But yeah, then
the sassy role.
Yeah, I love her with that. Of course, the actual official first encounter with aliens, seeing it in action, because it does take that decoy for training up, which Emerald does see also. I then love that. It's in the cloud! And it's diving around in and out of the clouds as OJ's trying to run away. And then later, he's watching from the barn as it takes away poor Clover, the horse. And,
so sad. R.I.P. Clover.
And yeah, Emerald sees it fly away as well, and she is terrified. She's like, all right, we're out. We wanted to catch it on film, but nope. Right?
Nope. Not doing it.
Maybe bad idea. It's a really bad idea.
Bad idea.
I do find it odd that OJ holds on to the coin that killed his father and has it still in the bag from the hospital pinned to the wall. All right.
I know. I'm like, do you really want the murder weapon? I mean, because if that's what it... I mean, the alien killed his father. That was the weapon it used, whether it's an accident or not.
Yeah.
I mean, it killed it.
But, yeah, Emerald gets the number of cinematographer Antler's Holst from that call sheet of that commercial and offers him this shot of a lifetime, the impossible shot. Get this alien being, and he just hangs up on her. Really, that dream you're chasing, it's the one you'll never wake up from, right? That'll come back. Yeah, and then we talked about Lucky truly is lucky. Because then the next encounter with Jean Jacket, they're at Jupiter's Claim. Lucky stays in that box most of the time, and then even survives the attack when it comes down towards OJ. So I don't know how to survive that second time, but Lucky is very lucky and will continue to be crucial.
I was so happy because I don't like to watch movies where the animals die. I know I've missed out on some real tearjerkers and some wonderful, heartwarming films, but if you know me, you know. No. Nope.
Other little things. I love the details of this movie. All the little things that mean something, even if they don't mean anything major, but just how they tie into this universe and this world and this story that's been built. Emerald puts on this videotape of the Haywood Hollywood Horse speech from her father with Keith David's character Otis Sr. giving that speech. And she's clearly memorized it. It's the exact word for word speech that she gave at this commercial shoot. Down to my great-great-grandfather, because we saw her forget to add an extra great for herself in her own generation. So
she's definitely studied it, and it goes to her character being more of the spokesperson. Yeah. Like, that's within her personality. It's not in OJ's at all. He'd much rather just be working and training the horses, I think.
He's not the people person.
No.
He's not the best spokesperson for the company. That is where she comes in.
Not at all. Definitely not.
It's with this scene that things definitely get serious. The most serious, that's where it really kicks off. I won't talk about that specifically. I have that for later. But we have OJ over the phone. It's alive, Em. It's an animal. It's territorial. And it thinks this is its home. Yeah.
Oh, there was a lot of that, like, slowing down because the electricity was getting sucked out and like turned off. Basically, that's what would happen when this alien entity was around. There was a lot of that where things would cut out, and it's alive. That's something I didn't. I mean, I knew it was, but I didn't remember it from the first time. Yeah. And this time it's like, oh my God, this makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. And so, as you were mentioning, what was the strong suit of OJ is being the animal trainer, being the person who understands and knows the animals he's working with. That's his strength in this situation, as he realizes the biggest mistake you can make with this thing is eye contact. Don't look at it because of its highly territorial nature. That's a challenge. That's a threat. And he even comes to the point, it's like, it's probably not even going to try to eat you unless you look at it. And then you've kind of signed your own death warrant there.
Yeah.
And so they come up with a plan. Antlers is in. Angel is in, which we haven't talked about. We will.
We will.
But yeah, so they're all in here to make this plan where they can document the existence of the creature, Jean Jacket, as he's named it, get it on film, and then OJ also intends to break it like a horse to get this mutual respect and understanding and level with it. I don't know really how he was going to plan on doing that, how well that really would have worked out. It didn't have to go that route. Yeah.
I don't think it would have worked well. He said that he studied it and anything with a spirit can get broke. And I'm just thinking, have you really been studying it? And what universe do you think that that's going to work?
I think he was a little too confident in that for himself. Of course, he didn't have to go there. But then I like after that plan, right before the plan goes in action the next morning, I love how it focuses on the walkie-talkies on the table because they've all been labeled with the game pieces they chose while setting that plan up in motion. They had statue, top hat, race car, and thimble on them. I thought that was hilarious.
I loved that scene where they were picking things out. It is. I mean, I remember playing Monopoly as a kid, and we all had the pieces we wanted to end up with, and you didn't always, because someone would always take what you wanted. And so it was cool to see them like carry that theme from their little meeting to the actual implementation of their plan.
Yeah. And then OJ, for that plan, then puts on this Scorpion King crew hoodie from 2001, which, if you remember his conversation with Emerald, was the first film he got to work on with his dad. With Jean Jacket as the horse. It was supposed to be her horse, and then their dad decided to train Jean Jacket for the movies instead for the Scorpion King role that never actually came to fruition anyway.
Yeah, because they use camels. Amazing. But she held a grudge on that too. Like you can tell that really bothered her. And I don't think that they had a bad relationship with their father, but I think that there were decisions he made in the running of the ranch that he made strictly for business without thinking about the kids and how they would feel. Especially because he made promises, or he made a promise and he didn't fulfill it. And kids remember that. They just do. It's something that they remember.
Yeah, for sure. So next part of the plan, that is a lot of wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube men, which they are using to get a bead on anywhere old Jean Jacket decides to go, right?
Yeah, I was just thinking when I was watching this, I wonder if there's a phobia of those.
I've never thought of that, but there's gotta be people who are scared of those things. Because there is something a little creepy about them. I could see it.
Yeah, and so I'm thinking about that. It's like, okay, you go in to watch this great Jordan Peele movie not realizing that you're going to be terrified out of your mind by many of them in a field.
I know they were used in a lot of the promotional stuff for the film building up to its debut. Yeah. So hopefully they would have clued in on that.
I hope so.
Yeah. OJ, again, thinking of a lot of things with that eye contact and things like that, to where when he goes out on this mission, he's got blinders on Lucky.
Yep.
He goes to that TMZ douchebag who is in rough shape after flipping his bike or getting crashed off of it.
I mean, he was kind of like a robot anyway.
Right. I mean, he only cared about getting everything on film. It was which is part of the theme of this movie, spectacle, right?
Yep.
I'll get to that. So
it's all about a spectacle.
I mean, the Haywood team here is kind of doing the same thing.
Yes. They're feeding into, or they're buying into the hysteria that comes around when you can't look away from something, or you want to capitalize on something financially, or get your 15 minutes of fame.
Yeah, it's very much the major theme of this movie. Is spectacle. And again, I'll get to that. I've got more thoughts on it later. But yeah, OJ is telling this biker, this cameraman here, to keep his eyes on him, not to look up at the sky. However, he has that reflective helmet on.
Yes,
and
he does.
Just like Lucky seeing his own eyes reflected in that chrome ball at the commercial shoot, it's not going to be helpful in the situation with Jean Jacket. He's coming right after it.
No.
So many like little things like that are callbacks to things within this own movie, that like little things that you just think are just insignificant. Like, again, like that chrome ball being what spooks Lucky at the shoot. Comes back full circle in this scene right here, that everything seems to mirror something else that happens in this movie. I think that's the genius of Jordan Peele. I have to credit him on that.
Yeah, definitely. I like how he allowed, through OJ, to discover these things based on his experience earlier with the test that they were trying to do. And then it came full circle, and he's in this position where he's not the one that's most talkative, but he did come and figure it out. He's like, don't look at it. And he had these flashbacks of Lucky seeing his reflection and realizing, okay, yeah, this is a problem. This is what's going on.
Yeah.
I don't think it eats you if you don't look it in the eye.
Right. Or if it doesn't see its own reflection. Don't wear an aluminum suit. You know, don't wrap yourself in aluminum foil. Don't do it. Right. And again, with OJ, with that training, and he knows not to look at it unless it is that right moment, because after the situation with the biker, then Jean Jacket sucks up one of these sky dancers, or what they're technically called. I like the other name much better. But
Sky Dancer is much easier to say.
It is. It's much easier to say, but again, wacky waving inflatable arm flailing tube man is more fun to say.
Yeah, it is funny.
But so it eats one of those and immediately spits it out angrily. So that's kind of go time. OJ has rigged his hoodie up to put eyes in the back of his head, literally, right? To draw the alien after him. So as it's giving chase, he releases the flags and parachute, which are meant, that's part of his breaking, is he's realized by its reaction after what happened with the horse mannequin and those flags, and then seeing its response to this flailing tube man, that it has a trigger response to bright color plastic and flags and these things like that. So releasing that parachute does kind of show dominance over, I can, kind of pull the reins on you a little bit here. That is what he's trying to do. Because there is this bad connotation to colorful plastic things, like I said. So it does cause the creature to retreat for a little bit.
Yeah, just for a teeny weeny bit.
But then, thanks to Antler's Holst, doesn't quite work out so well. Again, I'll talk about him later, but
yes,
it comes back around, so they've got a plan B. Emerald did say she was good with motorcycles, so there's that.
Thankfully, but it's an electric motorcycle, so it's not going to just start, because as this TMZ reporter realized, since it's electric, as soon as Jean Jacket is around, it shuts off and he goes flying.
So she can't go anywhere for the time. So that's where we have that eye pointing, that connection, that brother-sister connection. I see you. I'm here for you. And OJ does lure it away far enough so she can get that bike revved back up and take off. It's teamwork, man. They are a great team. They really are. They balance each other well.
They are.
So she rides to Jupe's claim, frees the giant inflatable Jupe. Jean Jacket decides to gobble up after squaring it down a little bit. And then when that helium goes boom, So does Jean Jacket.
Yep. And we go full circle because the first time that M is in Jupiter's Claim, she kind of messes with two boys who are trying to take a photo in the Winkin' Well. And so she uses that camera because it's not electric. It's coin operated to get the photo proof that she needs.
And so here's more. I've talked about that theme of spectacle a little bit. So here's kind of, now that I've kind of wrapped up that story where it goes, I can throw some of those things in here. Here's the theme of spectacle. We have a society focused on public image, and that can be a downfall. Jupe's image, which haven't talked about Jupe specifically, but we will. But to sum it up, I mean, his image was his folly. He literally, professionally goes by the name of the most popular character he played as a kid. Ricky Park is his name. He goes by Jupe because that's the name of the character he played in the movie that made him famous, and now people just call him that. It's literally this spectacle image he's living as his own life. The TMZ guy, like I said, it's all about spectacle. He doesn't care for anything other than getting the shot, getting this. Right. Holst and his legacy, I'll talk about that a little bit. Even Emerald's desire for fame and money from getting that perfect shot causes problems. She does get it in the end, like you mentioned, but maybe she doesn't. We don't know. The movie does leave it a little ambiguous. Because we see that the shot is taken, but she does not see that picture come out. She has not looked at it.
No.
Even the reporters and everybody starts showing up, and you see where she could walk over there. She could take center stage. She could be in the spotlight and be the one to say, I ended it. I killed it. I did this. I did that. But no, she looks away from them to the other entrance of the park, to her brother, and she's focusing on him when the movie ends. So, does she know that the photo came out, or does she go straight to OJ? Does she talk to anybody? We don't know. They leave it open that way. For her sake, I kind of hope she does. In this case, maybe the spectacle is a good thing. Get the money, save the ranch. But but we don't know. But I love that even Jean Jacket, the design and visual of the alien in its true form, when it's not a giant cowboy hat looking saucer.
Oh my God, I'm so glad you said that, because I thought it looked like a cowboy hat.
That's exactly what it is.
Like it was gonna gobble people up.
Yeah, it's kind of fitting into where it is. It's but even that, when it kind of,
I don't know. Peg, I'd still be afraid of a giant inflatable cowboy hat coming after me.
But it's how it connects with Jupe, with this whole wild Western theme park thing. Like that's the theme. It's a flying saucer, but it's a cowboy hat, so it's the theme, and I keep coming back and getting fed.
Exactly. He contributed to this problem that they're
Oh, absolutely.
He just kept luring it back.
Mm-hmm. But I wonder, you're a photographer, so what did you take from Jean Jacket dropping saucer form and taking true form? Let's talk about the theme of spectacle. Would you say it kind of does resemble a camera, or the lenses of a camera focusing in on a subject?
Yes.
A little bit there.
At the end, when it keeps coming out, yes. It reminds me very much of my camera when it's trying to focus on whatever I'm photographing.
Right.
Whether it's figure skating or my animals or myself. It very much resembled a camera. Yeah.
And so I think that design is very purposeful for this theme of spectacle. Yeah.
Yeah. It really did. If you think about it, cowboy hat connected with Jupe. But Emerald was more focused on getting a picture of it. So it really just became what she was looking, kind of an object related to what she was looking for. I think it really depends. I think you're right. I think it depends on what the person is going for, what connects to them. But I thought it was very clever.
It could be something like that. But I like, just in the grand scheme of that movie, just using those designs to help the theme of what's going on.
Yeah.
Jordan Peele.
Well, think about paparazzi, like, who are always trying to get the picture They follow people around trying to get them at their best or their worst. And I mean, that's what that contributes to the spectacle, because we all look at the photos online or in magazines. Like, we're always looking at these photos that these paparazzi get. It just contributes to it. The spectacle.
Yeah, which we'll get to Jupe later, but I mean, honestly, he kind of, it's the big reason for what's happening. OJ mentions that the reason that it has chosen this spot to stay and hang out is because of what Jupe has set up.
Yeah.
You know, you make it a spectacle, you make it a show, and you think it's all fun and games, but you are dealing with and manipulating with nature and with things that you can't control.
Exactly, because it's an entity. It's not machinery. It's not a ship. It's an actual being. Still don't know how OJ thought he was going to reason with it or communicate with it. I think the only thing it understood is, meals and look down so it doesn't eat you. I mean, really, those are the two things it really got. Yeah.
So that is my notes on the Haywoods. I don't know if you've got any extra. If you've got stuff.
There are things related to Angel and them with Angel that we'll talk about, that I think connect more with his character than with what they were doing.
Yeah. So, where do you want to go? Do you want to go there next, or should we talk about Jupe?
I feel like we have to go to Jupe. Before we do that, I want to remember one quote that Otis Sr. said, which was, I guess some animals aren't fit to be trained. And I think that relates to Jupe, but just basically because he was trying to train the entity. Yeah. I feel like to come, and it came on command until it didn't.
Right.
I feel like it was surveilling the situation and biding its time until it decided to break with what it had been doing and have a big lunch.
Yeah. To talk about Jupe, we have to talk about Gordy. We have to talk about all of these things. And that's where this movie begins. With the opening logos and things. We're hearing audio from this taping of Gordy's home. With laugh tracks and cutesy delivered lines. But then there, in an instant, something switches, and we've got sobs and fear.
It shifts on a dime because of something that happened, but we don't learn that right away. We just get kind of to see we hear things, and we see kind of the aftermath.
And then we get this verse, this Bible verse that comes up on the screen, Nahum 3:6. I will cast abominable filth at you, make you vile, and make you a spectacle.
Yep. Jordan Peele. Perfection.
And then the first visual we see of the movie is the shoe with the blood spot on it, standing impossibly up on its end. And we're seeing this from the young Jupe's perspective. And again, the concept of bad miracles. That this shoe, and Jupe holds on to it, it is something that represents a horrific tragedy. And yet, if little Jupe hadn't seen that shoe standing the way it was and focused on it like that, then instead he probably would have met the gaze of Gordy and may likely not have survived that day. Right.
Because he was so focused on that shoe. I mean, I thought it was strange. I'm like, how does the shoe stand up? I mean, that was...
There is no explanation for why the shoe is standing up.
No.
Other than it fits in that theme, there's a secondary theme there of bad miracles. Because then by the time Gordy is closer to where, Jupe can't focus on the shoe, then I'm going to have to say, then it's this, tablecloth that kind of blocks direct eye contact with the chimp. Because again, the eye contact with the animal is a big deal, here too. So those are those things, those bad miracles that led to Jupe being where he is. But then, because Jupe survived and is living this high off of everything that has happened to him in his life, full circle. Now he's playing with fate a little bit too much, and more bad miracles appear.
Yeah, he got off easy compared to, was it Mary Jo, his co-star, who was completely disfigured.
Yeah. And again, the little details. I noticed you mentioned the winking well there.
Mm-hmm.
This bottom of the well souvenir photo. The idea of it taking a photo up through the well. Did you see where that came from?
No.
That was the movie poster for Kid Sheriff, starring that young Ricky Jupe Park. In his office, he had his Kid Sheriff stuff everywhere, and the movie poster was him, like the 3 kids looking down into the well.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's profiting off of that. He's carrying that with him, the Jupe with him.
He's profiting off a lot because there was a couple that paid him $50,000 to sleep in his special room that has all of these things from the TV show that he was on.
Yeah.
It's really, I mean, it's immortalized. He's basically immortalized this TV show where terrible things happened.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah. He's more than eager to share his story and shrine to Gordy's home. It was a tragic and devastating experience, but he's used it to fuel him. I feel like maybe he's feeling a little bit invincible all these years later from that encounter, that he has this power over animals that might even reach to aliens, that he has some kind of connection and control there that he really doesn't. And he's found that he can profit quite well off of that ordeal.
He definitely can. I do think it contributed to him feeling invincible because they don't really go into detail as to who lived and if anyone died or if they were all just really like maimed and destroyed. But he was the only one who pretty much escaped unscathed. Yeah.
Man, which got to give a lot of love before talking more about him. Just Stephen Yeun, the actor.
Yes.
Always good to see him. Of course, he will always be our beloved Glenn, but I will say I actually really love that he has distanced himself from The Walking Dead, and he's really managed to succeed in building a career doing many vastly different things.
For sure. He was in Minari, which was incredible.
So good.
And then he played a very dark role in this Korean film. I think we've talked about it before.
Yeah, Burning. I haven't seen it yet.
Burning. Okay, yeah. It was a very different, dark character because he played a very sketchy person.
Yeah.
Which is not what we were used to with Glenn.
Right.
But he also, with playing Ricky Jupe Park, in this film, it was something different.
Yeah.
I think he's showing that he has a lot of range that maybe we didn't really get to see. I think it's awesome.
We covered Mayhem with him and Samara Weaving, which, man,
he was great.
Very different, but fun. Yeah.
Yeah. He was great in that.
Yeah. You were talking about, what happened with the Gordy's home filming. We get the visual of them filming that Gordy's birthday episode, seeing that it was a balloon popping is what sent the chimp off. A balloon popping. Interesting. Again, little details.
Things that come full circle, like the symbolism starting early in the film and then getting to the end and
But I think I've seen some people online that just saw it in theaters, back when it came out, that were critical of the movie using so much of this story and being, what was the point? I don't understand. Why should we care about the chimp? Why should we care about all that? What does it have to do with the alien? What does it have to do with anything? And again, if you know Jordan Peele and his use of themes and stories and what he's trying to tell underneath the story of the movie, what things he's talking, which we've talked about, Bad Miracles, and we've talked about Spectacle. We've talked about those things. I think the having this background story is important to the theme of the movie, because there's another movie there with that. Spectacle also comes, even though they do it in this movie because there are real live horses being used in the filming of this movie, but it is this kind of theme of Hollywood and people just kind of
exploiting.
Thinking they have this control and exploitation of animals and things that they really don't. It is a lack of control over nature and animals, even when we think we have it, this overconfidence that we have. and an immortality complex people tend to kind of create and build. And then that bad miracle theme as well, with you can't control life at all. Anything can and will happen at any time, even when it's seemingly impossible. And it just kind of makes me think of how powerless we truly are in the grand scheme of the universe. That's the fact that I can get so, you know.
You get a better sense of it, I think, watching it a second time.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that the people who watched it once go back and watch it again, because I think they will understand the symbolism so much more in the second time through.
Yeah.
Because I think it's more apparent that way.
Mm-hmm. So I would say the three major themes. Spectacle is the first, the most.
Mm-hmm.
Followed by the bad miracles, like kind of, then there's like a psychology idea of bad miracles. And then the psychology of the human condition. But then like probably the smallest theme. But then there is this kind of nature and power of nature and the control that we have also play. There's a lot of little things that Peele is feeding into this. And Jupe is a big part of that. This sense of power over the natural world, where he's developed this show where, I mean, practically he's just feeding horses to aliens. An alien, right? The Star Lasso experience. He's built together this small crowd, including co-star of Gordy's Home, Mary Jo Elliott. Of course, the main problem with this, as people should know, you can't tame a wild animal. There's this old adage, don't feed it or it will come back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it views you as a food source.
Yes.
That's a very common, especially me growing up in East Texas, where there's a lot of natural forests and wildlife and things like that. It's, you don't do that because there's a connection that wild animals will make with humans as a food source. And then when it's not fed, after forming that connection or not satisfied with what it's being fed, well, then what becomes the food?
I think we got to see that.
Right. And so, I mean, that's why I was going to say nationwide, worldwide, national parks and things like that urge you, do not feed the wildlife. Because
right.
Then they will do the same thing, and then people become in danger. And then what happens to those animals? They have to be relocated if they're very lucky, because most commonly they're just killed because there's no rehabilitating.
A wild animal
connection.
That's been domesticated, you can't. It's very sad, but you can't put them back out in the wild. You can't touch them. You can't be near them. You have to keep that wildlife connection that they have with their surroundings. It's sacred. They have to keep that. They can't be connected with you.
Right. And so that's a big downfall of everything that happens in this movie is this, self-confidence that Jupe has that is foolishness and ignorance that has created a food to human connection within this alien. And now it's like, well, this is my territory. This is my feeding grounds. And I know that I'm here and this is where my food is. And then.
Yep. And I know there's a bigger meal than that horse that you've got caged up.
Right.
We're going to
shows
have
up
you.
a little early for the show. And then, oh, wow. Look at this feast that Jupe brought me today. Not just the horse, but he brought me a whole bunch of people, from elderly to children. It's a real buffet.
Yep.
So, how kind, generous, and thoughtful. I'd hate to be rude, so I'm going to have to eat it all.
I thought the whole process of the entity or the alien eating the people.
Oh, it is.
Like ingesting them.
Horrifying.
It was horrifying.
Chilling.
But I also connected that to like the hysteria and this dependence we have on just looking at pictures and looking at our phones and knowing everything that's going on and just being obsessed of the spectacle. And I feel like that hysteria of the spectacle, it just, to me, it was like a metaphor. It's like the hysteria pulls people in very much like this alien ingested these people.
Yeah. And that they just get sucked in and then are like digested inside this fluffy balloon of death and doom.
Oh my God.
And we get reminded by their haunting screams anytime it flies overhead for a little while after that.
Did you get claustrophobic watching that scene? Because I kind of did.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and also, just on a side note, during that scene, I gotta give a shout out to Jupe's suit. I freaking love it. This whole Western wear suit, but then it's got the like rhinestone UFO and beam on the back of the jacket. I'm like, all right, that's pretty fly. I gotta give you that.
Do you need to get one for yourself?
I just might.
Oh my God.
And then we see, of course, the suits. Yeah.
I know you live in Texas, but I didn't think you were a cowboy.
At heart, somewhere deep, 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 deep down. I have that family connection because, I mean, that's my dad rode bulls professionally for years, up until I was born. He stopped after I was born for good reason. Having a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to this day, he still works with the PBR, professional bull riding and things like that. He with events and stuff, and he goes to a cowboy church, and they do buckouts and rodeos and things regularly, and he runs all of that and does all of that and works with the professionals that come in and do. Like, he's still rodeoing to this day. That's what he does. So.
Oh my gosh. So you have a little inner cowboy there somewhere.
Oh yeah. I used to go to like rodeos with him and stuff all the time. And yeah, it was a big part of my childhood for sure. So it's in there.
It's in there.
Mm-hmm. I was like, so we talk about Yellowstone, bringing those things up. One of the main guys that's on Yellowstone, it was funny, I was talking to him about that. He loves that show. And I was telling him, I was like, oh, I love the character of Lloyd. He's one of my favorites. He was like, oh yeah, used to rodeo with him back in the day all the time, the actor. Like, I was like, oh, cool. You know, so yeah, it's like, yeah, we used to travel together, like, or, you know, meet up at all the places all the time. Yeah.
Who knew?
Right. It's like, I actually just sent him a message online telling him Happy New Year or something, you know.
Okay. Who knew your dad had these connections?
I know, right? It's like, but yeah, so definitely have that in there with me. I just talked about that on like Strange Indeed this week. We were talking about good old Southernness. It was like I was just, or last weekend I was at my dad's house bonfire party where we were blaring country music and shotgunning beer and dancing around the fire. Let my Texan out a little bit. You know how it is. That was fun.
I've never heard you talk like that ever.
Mm-hmm. Hey, just doing a little bit of two-step country dancing with my niece around the bonfire.
Okay, now that I can see you do.
It was adorable. It's a good night. Anyway, where was I? Okay, suit. Yeah, the suits. So then the suits that Jupe's sons come out wearing, these like gorilla suits with the alien heads, which they were wearing those to scare OJ earlier. And then we see that they're based on part of this whole Star Lasso experience merchandise line based on these aliens, the viewers, or what Jupe has created, this entirely fictitious thing that he's created, imagining them to look like and all of this. He has no idea what he's really dealing with.
If he thinks they're just viewers, then he's very much mistaken because they do a lot more than watch.
Mm-hmm.
They consume
it. There is no they. It is it.
It consumes.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, so again, just that overconfidence that he has no idea what he's dealing with.
Yeah. Because I think he thought he could just get away with it. You know? And I think it's obvious, I know I mentioned this earlier, it's obvious when we see this scene why he wanted to buy the Haywoods Ranch. I mean, it's right next door. He can make an even bigger spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe his viewer wants to bring a friend next time. Scary thought.
Yeah. Just, that overconfidence.
Yeah.
Where he even says to that audience right before they're ingested and digested, that I trust them and they trust me, and if they didn't trust me, then none of us would be here today. Well,
be careful what you say.
Right.
Because if you think about it, we saw the remnants of all of the attendees at this special showing when it rained down on the Haywood house.
Yeah.
We had keys and a wheelchair on the roof.
There's a wheelchair on your roof.
Yeah. There just everything. And blood. There was even blood raining down.
So much blood.
It was bad. What a digestive system this creature has.
Yeah. Yeah, that will be, because I have that as kind of a note for talking about Jean Jacket, but we can throw that in. Angel gets back into the house. I was like, dude, that knife's going to do nothing for you, my man. I don't know what you're thinking. But yeah, that is the most disturbing but kind of awesome scene, is with, the alien directly over the house with Emerald and Angel inside, and the size is keeping the rain from falling on the house. And so you can see the rain move away, which a visual within its own is crazy. And then you can hear the screams of pain and panic and everything from above, and then crunch and silence.
Yep. And the blood is rushing down, and metal pieces of debris are flying everywhere. Whatever it ingested at Jupiter's claim is just raining down.
Right. Would you believe it's strawberry milkshake?
No.
Fine. It's the lovely audience from the Star Lasso experience.
Yep.
But yeah.
You didn't attend the show, so we're bringing the show to you.
Yeah. Just gruesome.
Yeah.
Definitely, I remember seeing it in theaters, and like at that moment being like, oh my God. Like, stuff is very serious at this point.
Definitely.
Yeah. All right. But so those are all of my notes about Ricky Jupe Park.
One of my comments, which was during his little performance presentation, that he thought that Lucky was going to get fed, was, so did you think he was training the alien vessel to come at a certain time? Did he think he was training it? Did he really think he was, getting this alien to come at this certain time? Because I just thought that is it's stupid. Like, why would you think that you could train it? Because it goes way back to Otis Sr.'s comment about, you just can't train everything there. It's just not possible. Like, some things cannot be trained. Some animals cannot be trained.
Yeah, Jupe was a little deluded. Thought a little more highly of himself than very self-important. To where, I think he did think that. I think he was fully convinced that he had power over this thing, and he learned otherwise. Yeah,
you can't. You have to keep your guard up. You can't.
Which, man, get the visuals, because I didn't talk about that, but when that happens, because you don't see the people really getting sucked up. You do later, kind of at a further distance. You see them like from the inside of the alien, and then them coming up. But the initial moment when it happens, it's all just focused on Jupe standing there looking up, and his hat comes off his head and starts swirling around in a circle. And if you follow that hat, then you start seeing shadows of people start swirling in that, and it's visually, it's horrifying and amazing at the same time. Yeah.
I still, though, didn't feel like this film was over the top.
No.
I felt like it was complex.
Yeah, for a movie about a giant flying human-eating alien, it was still very grounded.
Yeah. It was. Man.
One-eyed, one-horned, flying purple people eater.
Oh, yes, that song. Good old Antlers. I feel like we have to transition to Antlers and Angel.
Yeah. Do that. Yeah, you've got no more...
Nope, I am good.
On you.
I am good.
That would be where to go. So again, I said, because I little on Antlers, not much, so I just kind of threw it in, so... Talk both, but Angel, sweet Angel. The Fry's tech guy who's kind of a total dick at first, but then soon he gets very interested and invested in the happenings at the Haywood Ranch, right?
Yeah, I don't think he's getting paid to come over and put a tarp around the camera or,
Right.
all this extra tech advice and work that he's doing there. I don't think he's getting paid for it.
No, but he's more than happy.
Yeah. I think he's
'Cause-
bored out of his mind, honestly, and this is an exciting thing. So he's
Yeah.
drawn to it because he wants to be a part of it. I also think he had a little thing for Emerald. Not like he's completely in love with her, but I think he liked her. I think he thought she was cool.
Yeah. We see them get closer throughout the movie, which is fun.
Yeah.
And luckily he has a lot of UFO interest and knowledge. One of the few times that'll come in handy. All right.
Yes.
Yeah. So like I said, he's more than happy to get out of the store for a while. And yeah, he's setting up the cameras and like the angles and locations with OJ, and he's piecing things together. And I like how he lets OJ know he's figured out what's going on. Is just in small conversation. He just looks over him and goes, they don't call them UFOs anymore. It's fucking UAPs now. He just starts that conversation, which I think is kind of a little bait to see how OJ responds. And when he goes, well, what do they call him? Like once he's in, he's like, okay. He's like, why don't they call him that? And he's like, all right, I knew that's what was going on here.
He figured it out. He's not stupid.
Yeah, I love that conversation. This was one that sent me down a little bit of a rabbit hole. He's also got tons of conspiracy theories that he will happily share. So it's him and one of my bosses that are keeping Ancient Aliens on the air. But yeah, in this conversation, OJ refers to a Navy clip. He said, I saw the Navy clip. I have also watched that footage. I know exactly what he was talking about. And it is definitely interesting. It is a Navy pilot that encountered something unusual in the air, and he was tracking it a while. And it's kind of like a dash cam for Navy planes. They all have recordings of what's going on for purposes. And so, yeah, that footage has been released. Because again, in that conversation where Angel says something about, how they, declassified a bunch of footage the past, a couple years ago. It's all real. They're pulling from legit information that has happened. So I went down a little rabbit hole on that. Again, with this Navy pilot, there is truth to these clips, and Angel mentioning that declassifying footage of real UFOs, now UAPs, like you said, unidentified aerial phenomena. There are multiple and growing reports of unidentified flying objects interfering with Navy flight training, with near misses and having to even take evasive maneuvers in training situations.
Oh my goodness.
Because of things that are there, they have been tracked of objects that are moving at Mach 1 speeds. That is the speed of sound for people.
Oh my.
And then as fast as they can move, they can also stay completely still and hover in one spot in the air and not move at all, which our own kind of equipment and technology we have right now cannot do.
No.
It sounds crazy. I sound crazy, but this shit is real, and it is mind-blowing if you've looked into it. To where there is literally, there's actual evidence and proof of, the Navy being like there's guys like Navy pilots and stuff that have been like, they just refer to them as those fucking things. Like, they're just like, we don't know what it is, but they're interfering with flight training because they just are there in our airspace and we don't know what they are. And it's interesting.
Oh my goodness. Well, I didn't go down that rabbit hole, so I haven't seen these videos, but I guess I'll have to check them out.
Yeah. It's wild. To where now it's like, it's crazy because it's fun to talk about. I remember as a kid and growing up and all this stuff, or even talking with like my boss and stuff, we have like, do you believe in aliens? Do you think? And I feel like where I'm at in my life right now, it's not so much of like, do you? I feel at this point, like there's enough evidence. It's like, no, there's definitely something. Yeah. We're not, like something just to bigger. Like what extent,
yeah.
But, so then when you start looking into this footage and things like that, it's like, it's a little like it kind of creeps you out the more you go into it. And you're like, okay, I'm done.
Yeah.
I don't want to think about it anymore.
I don't think I want to know. Yeah.
So yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, we've got actual UAP, UFO situations that are going on that are not just spy balloons. It's interesting, for sure. Anyway, after setting all this up, Angel is asked not to watch their feed, but of course, he's going to anyway, because the whole alien thing, and he's very into that, and he has to know. So of course he knows whatever they're monitoring. He's like, I gotta see what they're looking for. I gotta know. Yeah. So when the cam goes down, saying that something's interfering with the signal, he's calling Emerald because there's a freaking mantis blocking the other camera, and he can't see.
She's like, you're not supposed to be watching.
I know, he's literally calling, going like, yeah, you know how I am watching your security feed that I'm not supposed to? I can't see, so can you take whatever's blocking the screen off?
Yeah, which she's aware that it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Just she's watching the stream.
Yeah. I love her response though after the fact. She's just like, that fucking man is like, she's like, if I ever see it again, I'll eat it.
Oh man.
Yeah, and so Angel does show up back to the ranch. He pulls up because he has been watching the footage and scrubbing through the footage, and that's where he confirms with OJ and shows them that this alien has its own cloud that it has been using as camouflage, that the cloud does not move and possibly has been sitting there since Otis Sr. died 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That's where we get that great line from OJ. It doesn't move like a ship. What if it isn't a ship?
Exactly. I feel like OJ was the one figuring those pieces out. Like he was figuring, okay, what if it's not a ship? Or, oh, don't look at it and it might not eat you. Whereas Emerald was running around like getting a plan in place to do things. So I think they were a dynamic duo together.
Yeah. I think some of my favorite lines are Angel's. He's got great ones. After they're leaving the little seafood restaurant. I assume y'all are crashing at mine? Because you can. I'm not going back to the fucking monster umbrella.
I love that. I wrote that one down too.
Yeah. Which, again, random note, a little bit of not too much of a deep dive, but during that scene, as you notice, there's all these band tees that everybody's wearing. The main ones, of course, right there at that scene, Emerald is wearing this, the Jesus Lizard shirt, and OJ's got a Rage Against the Machine shirt on. And then Angel is seen wearing shirts for Earth, Wipers, Mr. Bungle, Butthole Surfers throughout the movie. And that is a purposeful choice by costume designer Alex Boverd, paying a little homage to 90s grunge, punk, alt-rock stuff. Mainly one, it strikes an emotional chord with him and Jordan Peele of just kind of their childhood in those times. But then also it fits Angel's character to a T. So they decided what better way than to kind of throw that little homage to our love of like 90s alt than just like throwing these t-shirts in there. And then so why are OJ and Emerald wearing those shirts? Because they stayed at his place. They stayed at Angel's apartment after their messy encounter with the alien, so they got to borrow his shirts.
Of course they do. And he has the best.
Yeah.
He has only the best.
Yep. He's got quite a great vintage band tee collection.
He does.
Gotta give it to him.
Yeah.
Threw in some Holst stuff. The news covering of the incident at Jupiter's Claim has sparked Holst's interest a little bit to reach back out to Emerald. Something strange is happening in Agua Dulce for sure.
Yes. So he wants to be there to capture it, but if you watch the videos of what he's editing, like he's putting something together, it's gruesome. Like but this is the type of thing that he's used to shooting, like a snake eating a tiger cub it was just...
It was a full-grown tiger. It was like an anaconda tiger situation.
I don't need that. I don't need that in my life. I don't need to see it. But he's off, to see the wizard.
Yeah. See, again, Angel quote, pop quiz, guys. What happens when an electric bike going 60 miles an hour hits an anti-electric field going in the opposite direction? Ah! There's no way that guy's alive.
No.
Ah!
And OJ, tries to save him.
Right.
But he's so freaked out. Oh, I need my camera. He's so focused on, the spectacle, the hysteria, the craziness, that he can't be saved.
Emerald told him not to go that way.
She really did.
She'll listen.
She told him not to go.
Right, and then the last with Angel. He was saved by a tarp and some barbed wire. And that barbed wire has pissed Jean Jacket off big time.
I love that it was like wrapped around him just a little bit, and he just keeps wrapping it around him more.
Yeah.
Because he knows, he's like, okay, well, maybe she'll throw me up if I am wrapped in this barbed wire.
I'm real spiky.
Yep, she doesn't like it. I'm not the spicy meal she's looking for.
Right. Like that. So then, last note, Holst. Let's talk about his demise there. Holst goes all in, literally. They get the shot needed, but after that, his drive for that impossible shot, the spectacle. That's another coming back around as the folly, the downfall, is the spectacle. The dream that you never wake up from, as he said to Emerald. It pushes him to get more and more. It is golden hour, as he says. It's magic hour. It's time. His art, his cinematic genius that has been relegated to commercials needs to be shown again in its full glory, even if it's the last thing he does.
And it is.
Of course, he would think he would have to know that the footage will likely not survive this ordeal. So really, it's just for his own peace as an artist that he's doing this. Just to know what he's capable of. He's the one that did it. But if he leaves behind no proof so nobody can take that credit from him, that's fine. Because it's about him. It's about his art and his legacy. Yeah. That's what he's worried about.
Again, it goes back to wanting your 15 minutes of fame, wanting, financial compensation. Maybe not in his case, because he was dead. But it's...
Even if it was only him in those final moments that knew, he's the one that got that shot inside the belly of the beast, literally.
Yeah. He wants infamy. He wants to be the spectacle himself.
Yep.
Goes in circles.
Yeah.
It connects.
So much to this movie. I love
it. I think I just have regular notes now. That's what I have left.
Yeah, just a few extra, I've got Jean Jacket, which I've talked about some of them. Going back to the opening of the movie, before transitioning us to showing this horse in motion film, the opening credits are shown inside what is now known to be Jean Jacket. And you get the visuals, and there's this slight moaning of pain and scream sounds that are barely there, just in the background, and it makes the second watch so much more disturbing.
It does.
And then I've talked about the experience. Talked about the house. Talked about the flying cowboy hat. After the house, the alien is sitting above OJ there in his truck. And I like where OJ cracks the door open just a little bit and is looking up into this gaping maw underneath. Nope. Right? He closed the door and says, nope. I love how that word, as the title of the movie, is used in this movie over and over in so many little things. And a lot of it is when Jupe's kids are dressed up and he sees them. Nope. Kiki Palmer has a lot of those. Nope. But even Gordy's home. When they're showing them filming that episode, and the actress that's playing the mother that's talking to young Jupe there, and part of the script of that show, where the father had gotten Gordy some stupid present that didn't make any sense. So there's you'd think that a man who can send shuttles into space would know how to buy a present for an ape.
Nope.
She said, it's tossed in there so many different ways, and it's again just a nice little creative thing.
Yeah. It's what our good friend Steve, would call a mic drop moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then, that's when the alien finally gets that horse mannequin dislodged, spits it out right into the windshield of the truck. And we see it was causing it some pain and discomfort there, which then explains why it's not just sucking up full vehicles with people in it. So they can be a little safe there. And then last note about kind of that scene. I just got to say, I really, really like this creepy slowed down version of Sunglasses at Night. by Corey Hart. I love it. It's so good.
And I'm on the flip side. I think it made everything so much more creepy.
Oh, it definitely made it so much more creepy, and that's why I love it.
Oh my goodness. Oh man. Yeah, it made it so much more creepy to hear that. Yeah, no. No. I don't think I need that. For sure. I don't need it. Mm-mm. So here is my final thought. Well, two things. First of all, the Mad magazine cover that was on Jupe's wall had some kind of funny things written on it. It said, "We flame broil Dante's Peak, poke third eye blind, commit to casual sex, and unhinge Heaven's Gate." So I thought that was
some great, topical things for back, because
callbacks.
Because like that Gordy's incident was what, in like 98?
Yeah.
So yeah, very topical.
Yeah. And I wondered, do the safety meetings that the Haywoods attended now exist because of what happened on Gordy's home?
I don't know if because of, I'm sure safety meetings with animals on set always should happen.
Yes.
But yeah, I know it's like within the universe of this movie, they even state that the Gordy's home incident is why no productions are allowed to work with chimpanzees ever again anymore. Yeah. Which is based kind of on a real life situation where something like that did happen. And yeah, so chimps are not used in any kind of film production or anything.
Yeah, like, you don't know. I mean, what's going to trigger them?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's too volatile a situation.
Mm-hmm.
Really.
Which is for the best. And I think as we mature, like I said, it's interesting because there are real life horses used in this movie. But you see the horses are never put in any like real serious situations. If they any of the scenes that are serious involving horses, then it's CGI.
Yeah.
Because the times that the horses are in this movie are just riding from one end of the field to the other, or kind of popping up. And so I think they mindfully did that to where they weren't using the horses in a lot of too crazy of scenes, but they are used here. But there's this kind of using animals in Hollywood, because you see a lot of movies now, which is interesting because I just saw, as I'm doing this Oscar watch, I'm literally watching every single Oscar nominated film for this year. Everything, marking it off the list. And so for original song is this Indian, like Tollywood film, RRR. And at the beginning of that film, there was a little notice that said, all the animals in this film, elephants, horses, tigers, deer, blah, 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 are all CGI, and we did not use any real animals. So, like, they're making a point of
pointing it out so people don't freak out.
Mm-hmm. And I think more things are doing it to where even horses in movies are CGI a lot more often. As CGI is getting better, we'll see how it holds up. So it's crazy to even think about 10, 20 years from now. I don't want to think about that. But if I have to, it's like, how well does it hold up? Where do things move? I don't know. I luckily will be around to see. But yeah, I think it's cool that things are moving that direction. Even there are very few, if any, really circuses in the United States that are allowed to use any live animals anymore. And I'm totally okay with it. I think exploitation of animals, even if people who think they are doing it correctly and right way, it probably is better to move on from those things.
Yeah. Yeah, it's time. It's okay.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's all I have, Pake, for notes.
Yeah, me too. So this one didn't go as long as I thought it might. Still an hour and a half-ish before feedback and all of that, which we'll get to in a little bit. And you've still got
I still have some
behind the scenes and stuff to do. So
though, even if it didn't go as long as you thought it was going to go, I feel like we had a really great conversation about a lot of the different pieces, because it wasn't just about what we saw happening in the movie. It was the connections to other things and how different parts connected to each other and came full circle. And I think you can't discuss this movie without talking about those things.
Right.
It's important to bring them up. Since we don't have any more notes, we can move on to behind the scenes. And I have 2 pages of notes on that, so better get to it. So Jordan Peele stated that he wrote the script during a time when there were concerns about the future of cinema, and he wanted to create a spectacle that would draw audiences in, and he knew that that was the first thing he wanted to achieve. He really wanted to get people back to the theaters. Mm-hmm. And I know that a lot of them closed, but I still feel like we have quite a few that are open, and I hope people are doing their best to support theaters. So
it worked for me.
I know, I'm bad. Yeah. So Peele was influenced by King Kong, Jurassic Park, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, Signs, and The Wizard of Oz. He considers these films to be examples of addiction to spectacle, which is a major theme in the film. My beloved Jurassic Park? But it is. Yeah. Absolutely.
They thought so much about whether they should that they didn't think about whether they could, right?
Exactly. Nope was the first horror movie to be filmed with IMAX cameras. Firestone Ranch served as the Haywood Ranch, and we already talked about Fry's Electronics. The clip of the jockey riding a horse is called Sally Gardner at a Gallop, and the horse's name is Sally Gardner. The identities of the 2 jockeys that were photographed are not known other than by the names C. Marvin and G. Dom.
Not a Haywood.
Not a Haywood.
Fictional for the movie.
Yep.
That part of the history. Yeah.
Yes. Cinematographer Hoyt Van Hoytema used a complex rig to shoot most of the night sequences, including those in the Haywood's field, and he did it during the day. They did not do it at night. It's kind of cool. The character of Angel Torres was originally written by Jordan Peele as a happy-go-lucky, geek-like character. However, after Brandon Perea was cast in the role, he wanted to expand upon the character and portray him as more grounded. Perea also had to push for multiple rewrites to convince Jordan Peele and Universal executives to change his character's fate in the film's climax from death to survival. I'm glad he did. I'm happy that he made it at the end.
Right, yeah, me too.
A familiar name to us here at Run for Your Lives.
Meant to take this as a note, so I'm glad that you got it.
Terry Notary, who plays Gordy in the movie, has previously portrayed other motion capture primates. He played Rocket in the rebooted Planet of the Apes trilogy, and Kong in Kong Skull Island, which...
Yes.
One of my favorites. Jordan Peele shared the complete intro into Gordy's home via his Twitter account shortly after the movie was released. The video, set to the song Strange Animal by Gowan, parodies sitcom intros from the 80s and 90s while also foreshadowing the darker events in the film. Emerald and OJ respectively wear green and orange clothes, which Emerald wearing green and OJ wearing orange makes perfect sense, right?
Yeah, I like that.
The film references Edward Muybridge, who was known for taking the first motion picture of a jockey riding a horse. He was also a renowned nature photographer, and Muybridge risked his life to take dangerous shots. Kind of is similar to Antlers and his devotion to his craft. On Stephen Yeun's character's Jupe's desk, there is a large pair of metal scissors that are the same ones prominently featured in Jordan Peele's previous film, Us, which we covered.
How did I miss that?
I don't know, but they were there. And we did cover Us. That was a lot of fun.
We did.
Caltech professor John O. DeBerry collaborated with Peele and his team on designing the jean jacket creature's UFO form, including its final biblical angel form, which drew inspiration from sea creatures and anime like Neon Genesis Evangelion. Dabiri helped realistically imagine how the hypothetical predator could hide in the clouds and generate an electric field for propulsion. Guillaume Rocheron of Moving Picture Company also worked on the visual effects for Jean Jacket, using both CGI and practical effects like a helicopter to create the creature's dust-swirling movements. The film had its first test screenings just 12 weeks prior to release, and at that time, special effects were still being finalized. The alien's animal form is inspired by sea creatures, a jellyfish, octopus, squid, electric eels, and the ghost knifefish, which is a fish that moves without fins. Jordan Peele chose Nope as the title as a way to acknowledge and play with the audience's expected reactions to the movie. He wanted to make it clear that the film is a thrilling ride that will provoke strong emotional reactions from the audience. The title also serves as a nod to people who typically shy away from horror movies, inviting them to give the genre a chance and see if they might actually enjoy it.
I don't know how well that would have worked. I don't know.
Yeah. And finally, the deadly chimpanzee attack witnessed by Jupe as a child in the movie Nope is not explained by writer and director Jordan Peele, but according to a Variety analysis, it symbolizes the idea that predators cannot be tamed and that humans will take great risks in the pursuit of spectacle.
Mm-hmm.
We did it.
Nice. You did it. It's good. A lot of great stuff. We have lots of thoughts about this one, so I love that. And speaking of lots of great thoughts, I hope that we have lots of great thoughts from some listeners. So let me get to that feedback phone and let's see. All right, we do have a little bit of feedback this week. One bit of feedback about this movie, this episode. Nope. We have one from our good friend Alma, and I will let you take that one, Daphne, because I'm so kind, so generous.
You are. You really are. So, Alma says, I watched this movie when it first came out. Weirdest alien I've ever seen in a movie, but Jordan Peele is known for strange and disturbing content. Funny, I have not rewatched any of his movies, which is odd for me. I always rewatch good movies. Jordan Peele reminds me of weird nightmares that you can't wake up from. Is that crazy? Anywho, I look forward to hearing y'all's thoughts.
Nice. Hope you enjoyed the episode.
Yeah.
Fun one. We should do more Jordan Peele. There's only one movie that we haven't done.
I know. Next season.
We should.
Yeah. Next season we'll do it.
And then the next bit of feedback is not necessarily your usual kind of feedback, but just speaking, on Twitter, our listener and friend over there, Mo Favo, sends us mentions and stuff all the time of different movies and things going on. So we're just going to give a shout out to you, Mo. Thank you for tagging us on Twitter, making sure that all these movies and soon to be released things are always on our radar. We really appreciate that because a lot of those have found their way into our episodes at different times. So always like having somebody on the button for us.
Yeah, because we can't track every single thing that's going on out there. So we really appreciate it when someone will point out a movie that we should definitely consider, especially if it's something that lives within, our realm. But if you'd like to submit your feedback, you can do so by going to our Facebook or Instagram at Run For Your Lives Podcast. You can find us on Twitter at RFYL Podcast. Email us at runforyourlivespodcast@gmail.com. And if you're enjoying the show, tell your friends. We are available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and pretty much all other podcast players, including YouTube. Go to runforyourlivespodcast.com for all the links you'll ever need and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, as that's the best way to share the love and get us out there even more. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do. Absolutely. And speaking of sharing the love, of course, gotta go ahead and give a couple shout outs to things going on in the podcast universe around us. My other podcast, Strange Indeed, me and Rima over there, still covering season 4 of You on Netflix. We have covered the first half. We've released our episode on episode 5. And then we were caught up with the whole rest of the world on You for 2 days until today, as we're recording this. Yesterday, as you're listening to this, if you listen right when it's released, the second half of season 4 of You has now dropped. I've already watched episode 6. I'm excited to cover it and talk about it next week. So yeah, now we're on the back stretch, the back half of You. This has been a really fun season. I'm still really excited to see where they go with it. It's been a lot of fun. So if you're a fan of You, go check out our coverage over on Strange Indeed. And so many other great things going on in Podcastica as well on this network. The Cast of Us still going on. Their episode is out now for the 8th episode, the penultimate episode of season 1 of The Last of Us. And yeah, it was great, as always. Great show, great coverage. Always loving what The Cast of Us is doing over there.
Yeah, I loved it too. It was an episode that I think finally solidified me as a fan of the series.
It took 8 episodes. Huh?
Yep, it did.
It took like half of one for me, but okay. Other great stuff. Murder Magnets, the Poker Face podcast, still going with Penny, Jason, and Jade, covering episode 9 this week. And the Extraordinary Cast with Greg and Penny doing episode 6. If you're a fan of those shows, check those out for sure. Star Wars TV podcast is back. Star Wars TV cast with Mandalorian. That's right. Mandalorian season 3 is here upon us, coming out week to week. The 2 episodes so far. I'm so happy to be hanging out with Din Djarin and Grogu once again. It's so much fun.
I have enjoyed it. I got caught up today, and I'm glad I had 2 episodes to watch to get caught up, and oh my gosh, so exciting.
Yeah. I'm a big Star Wars nerd, and especially I've always really loved the whole, even before The Mandalorian came out, but just the whole Mandalorian, like, backstory, the Mandalore and all those things. I've been a fan of that with like Boba Fett and all of that. And so I won't spoil anything, but I will tell you this second episode had something happen that gave me literal chills. And I was like, oh boy. So I'm excited to see where it goes. Love it. Let's see what else. Of course, Yellow Jackets, WTF.
Will be coming back
very soon. They just dropped another trailer. Sure to leave us all buzzing. So.
Yeah, it did. I am so stoked for this season, and that trailer just amped it up by 1,000. I'm one of those people that will watch trailers. Not everyone in my friend group will. But I know you don't. But oh my God, it's so good. I am just so excited to be talking about these characters again and breaking things down with Wendy, Penny, and Jason.
Yeah, I am very much looking forward to that show coming back and listening to you guys break it down every week. It's always a lot of fun. And then outside of Podcastica, got to give some good shout outs. Of course, TV podcast industries still going strong with The Bad Batch, Picard, and The Last of Us. A little bit of everything going on. Star Wars and Star Trek at the same time.
I know. Do they get confused? I feel like it might get confusing.
Yeah, so much great stuff over there. Go check them out. Always a fun time. And then lastly, got to give a shout out to the Wilhelm podcast this week, because it might have had somebody on it that you might know. And that person might be me. So if you are listening to this pretty quickly after release, so if it is Friday, maybe Saturday, then you know that the Oscars, the 95th annual Oscars, are this weekend on Sunday. And I'm a big Oscar nerd. So every year when the Oscar nominees are announced, I try to watch as many of them as I possibly can before the awards. This year, I'm actually managing to 100% complete it and watching every single film nominated in every single category. It's been quite the journey, but it's been fulfilling and it's been fun. And I love because it helps me see a lot of movies that I never would have watched or even heard of if it wasn't for the Oscars. So I appreciate that and enjoy that. So anyway, if you want to check out this week's episode of Wilhelm, me, Ben, and Brandy over there took the kind of like the top 10 major categories. We're not going to go through all the categories, but the like major ones, and gave our predictions and personal picks and thoughts on things that we really liked going into this weekend. So if you want to hear our thoughts on Oscar movies, go check that out. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, Oscars came up in my trivia this past week. So we had to name what film won the first edition of the Oscars. No one in the room got it right, because it's actually a film called Wings. That will live in my head now forever as
good
useless trivia knowledge.
Right. That's information you do have. Now you know it, and knowing is half the battle.
Yes, G.I. Joe.
But yeah, so that's what's going on everywhere else. But you can always come back next week right here to Run for Your Lives, and we'll have something else for you. What will we have for you next week? Daphne, why don't you tell?
Well, you asked, we listened. After a bunch of you wrote in and said that you wanted us to cover this movie, we are going to dig into the 1996 film, The Ghost and the Darkness. So after we covered Beast a few weeks ago, more people wrote in and said, you really should cover The Ghost and the Darkness. And so we finally did it. This movie stars Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas. It's kind of an adventure film with some wild animals. It was directed by Stephen Hopkins. I hope that we did the coverage justice because you guys have requested it. And we had quite a bit of fun talking about it. We brought in a little bit of humor that, I guess we were in that zone.
Yeah, it was just that kind of day. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. So I'm glad a lot of people were requesting it. So we were like, well, as we're trying to find what movies to wrap up the rest of the season, we've just got a few episodes left. Just like, people want to hear it. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
So here, let's do it. We'll go for it. It's fun.
Yeah. And with that, we've reached the end of another fun episode. Thanks for listening. I'm Daphne.
And I'm Pake.
And if you have to run, you better run for your lives.
Bye-bye.